June 4th.
It is not June 4th, but I plugged in.
This happens every week.
It happens.
If you've been following
We're
us,
learning.
we're figuring out a new system.
Yes.
Brought to you by Restream.
Yeah. See us on here on Facebook.
Nice.
I'm here, I'm dancing on the ground. Am I right side up or upside down?
Who is this?
Or am I dreaming, lovely lady? Ooh, you don't know who that is?
I have no idea.
Let's see if anybody
the
can
chat?
catch that. It's here, right here.
Oh, okay.
See if anybody is.
If Rachel Pennington is on, she'll know it.
It
'Cause
is.
she knows all of our songs.
It was not necessarily a big hit for this band. But yeah. I'll give you a hint.
Okay. Will I even know this? I live under a rock.
All right. We're talking about dreams,
Uh-huh.
and we're talking about trees today.
Trees? Why are we talking about trees?
The parable of the sower.
Oh,
well, I
the
mean
mustard
the mustard seed
Oh, okay. Yeah,
goes
yeah.
into a tree.
Yeah,
Shrubbery. That's a movie. Anyway. So you could say that this is kind of
say
like
I'm a dreamer.
the dreaming tree.
What?
You could say it's kind of like the dreaming tree, which is also
it's a
a
wine.
hit. Yes.
It's a
yes,
vineyard
yes,
owned
yes.
by Dave Matthews, so it's got to be the Dave Matthews Band.
Yes,
All right.
and Dreaming Tree is also a song on the same album as this. Yeah, which is called Crush.
So here we are.
Yeah.
It is 8:28. Welcome to Talkin' Toast. We, have some chatting to get through before we officially start. So you've got a minute to grab a drink, grab a friend, and don't grab your friend's drink.
It's funny. We had 4 people on, and then whenever I went on my whole Dave Matthews Band thing, we had 3 people.
Somebody was like, ugh.
Nope. I'm done.
Well,
Oh my gosh.
we are here. It is Talkin' Toast Tuesday night. Hopefully you had tacos tonight, and now you're toasting with us.
That's right. Although we had carbonara.
We had pasta.
We did.
Not tacos.
And it was good.
It was good. So Talkin' Toast
Yeah.
is a time for us to gather to talk about our creative process, but also to kind of reflect on things going on in our lives, in the world, in the lectionary, in the church. So it's just a little bit of everything. And who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, and sometimes we talk about music, sometimes we talk about sports, although I don't know if I can talk about sports for a while. And then yeah. Yeah. And then
It's been a rough sports weekend for us.
it has been a rough sports weekend. Yeah, let us know. All right, so if you were watching a sport, what team would you want to be watching right now? Yeah. What team? Let us know. If you had your choice.
And
what team would you be watching right now?
Can it be in a year? Any year of that team. So
okay.
So like the 2016 Clemson football team.
Or 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would the year and team be of your choice of teams to watch?
Yeah, if you can go back and watch one. Or if you so I was thinking more of if you could dream, like what would you want to
I'm
be
bringing
watching
nostalgia into it. Never mind.
I was trying to go ahead.
Christina Yamerick is watching the Orioles right
The
now, which is so exciting.
We swept
Tampa
the
Bay.
Rays. How are we doing against the Braves?
The Bravos.
I can't stand
The
the
Cobb
Braves.
County Braves.
The Cobb County Braves.
We're winning 4-0
Good.
against the Cobb County Braves. So we were in the Atlanta area when the middle of the night deal was struck to move the Braves out of Atlanta to Cobb County, and we decided at that point that we were no longer Braves fans.
Yeah.
And conveniently enough, we then moved to Baltimore, and
And we kind of, yeah, we like the O's.
the O's are so fun.
The O's have been good to us.
So, okay, yeah, dream team to watch. Who would you like to be watching?
Okay, if I could watch anything right now, I would love to be in Death Valley at a night game. There's just something special about that. It doesn't really matter who it's against. There's something special that happens at a night game. So, yeah. That's pretty predictable for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, but if you could be watching anybody right now, who would you be watching?
I don't know. There's this part of me that wants to say, like, the next Olympic basketball team.
You want to go ahead and skip to 2028?
2028.
And see women's basketball?
Yep. When Kate Martin and
Caitlin
Clark reunite.
That sounds awesome.
That sounds like a team to watch.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
No, but I think I'm really excited for today was the first day of practice for the Iowa women's basketball team under their new coach with Jan leading the way. And the reason I was upstairs for so long was not because I was putting Sophie to bed all that time. It was because I was watching videos of Iowa's practice today.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, yeah. Lee said 1971 Baltimore Colts won the Super Bowl. My dad had tickets.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
Awesome. We love to
Played
look
in
back.
Memorial Stadium, I assume, at that point.
I think so.
Yeah.
And Lisa says, hi. Hi, Lisa.
Yeah.
This is good.
So, past team. What would be your past team that you'd watch?
Oh, man. Any past team? I don't know.
1999 Women's World Cup.
You
U.S.
know-
Women's National Team.
Yeah. There was this year, I just forgot the year all of a sudden. I think it was 2013 maybe. It was Labor Day weekend, and we played Georgia at home in a night game.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to have been there for
remember,
that.
we were on a youth retreat.
I know. I would have loved to have been there for that one.
Yeah, that was a
Anyway.
fun one. Well,
Yep.
welcome to Talking Toast. Sometimes we devolve or evolve into Sports Talk Radio.
Yeah, that's what happens.
And here we are.
That's what
So we start every Talking Toast with a simple question that is not what team would you be watching, but it is what is sustaining you.
What is sustaining you? What is saving your life right now? What is getting you by? What is towing your Airstream? What is
That was for you, Lisa.
what is bringing you life right now? Yeah. Will you start us off? What's sustaining you? We didn't talk about this ahead of time. So you got to come up with something. What's sustaining you right now?
Ooh, Rebecca Cerami, 1996
yes.
women's gymnastics team.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Julia said easy coffee. I assume is sustaining
Easy.
her.
Coffee. Easy coffee.
That's another person to evangelize your mushroom coffee to.
What's the difference between easy coffee and hard coffee?
Yep.
Oh man.
Oh.
Well, that was a good question
New
to start
York
off
Cosmos with Pele, Franz, and so many stars.
with. Oh
Yeah.
man.
That's old school with the Cosmos.
That's
Man.
awesome.
Okay, so what's sustaining us? What is sustaining you all? Man, this is pretty sustaining. I like
I
some of
know.
this
I
stuff.
love this. This is good. Sometimes it's good to go into sports talk.
Oh, the miracle match. I remember watching the USA beat Russia in hockey on TV when I was a little girl.
Oh man.
Miracle on Ice.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's great.
I love
That's great.
sports. It's so much bigger than sports themselves.
I remember the World Cup not being into. I don't know why, because I never watched a whole soccer game before, but I watched the whole World Cup women's championship 99
In the Rose Bowl Stadium.
when Brandy
was-
Chastain scored the winner. That
That was
awesome.
one of my feminist click moments when I realized that I was indeed a feminist.
There you go.
I didn't have the language to say that because I was 10. But look it up. Feminist click moments. All right. So, okay. So what is sustaining me? We have been playing some basketball
We have been.
this last week, and that has been so delightful. We went last Tuesday and shot around, and then I went with the girls on Friday after school, and then I went again on Sunday, and it's just been such a delight to go and play some ball. And I gotta get some basketball shoes.
Yeah.
Cause I gotta go all in.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That's good stuff.
That's awesome.
What's sustaining you?
The beautiful weather. We've got that. Sustained by a late and listening to...
A late ride.
Oh, and listening to Moses Hogan.
I know one person in this world that will ride his bike and listen to Moses Hogan, and that is Jim Schlimmer.
That's right. Oh, man. Moses Hogan. That's good stuff. Yeah, what's been sustaining me? I got to do some things at work today that were interesting. I got to spend some time on some graphics. And the other week I saw you post about the Christian Temple shop where you can go and get t-shirts.
Yeah.
That was sustaining to me too. Sitting back and just making up graphics for t-shirts and stuff. I had the most fun with it. And today I was like, you know what? We don't have any baby things on here. So I just made a quick baby onesie that says like, my church loves me. And, and I love it. I love it.
I realized when we were together with our cohorts, what was that, 2 weeks ago now? That a very large percentage of pastoring is like praying for things to not break in the building. And another very large percentage of pastoring is graphic design.
Yes. It's fun.
Yeah.
He's sustained because it's the last day of school.
Yay.
That is awesome, Luke. Good for you, man.
We still have 3 more days.
We do. 3 more days. That's not how the song goes. It's 1 day more, but I'm just early on it.
In 2 days you can sing it.
I know. Oh, man. Well, good stuff.
So Talkin' Toast is an opportunity for us to draw back the curtain on our creative process. It's a conversation that we would have normally ourselves, and we wanted to let you in on it because we want to hear your feedback as we're talking about these things. Our sermon writing process really and truly does start right here on Tuesday nights. And so our hope is that you'll contribute to this conversation and that will help shape our sermons into something that is more than a monologue. It is truly something that comes up and bubbles up through the community.
Yeah, and means something to you because we've talked about it a little bit together.
Yeah. So to orient ourselves, we are in the 3rd week of a 4-week series on Mr. Rogers, none other than Fred Rogers. And we are pairing Fred with what's going on in the lectionary. So what's really cool about Fred Rogers is that you can pretty much pick any time in the lectionary to kind of play with Fred Rogers. And so if you're watching this later and you're thinking like, oh man, I'd really love to do a Fred Rogers sermon series, go for it. Many of the stories and themes from his life can be widely applicable to different times in the lectionary year.
That's exactly right. And so this sermon series, we're on episode 3. We're on the 3rd part of this series, and our scripture is from the lectionary, but like you said, it doesn't have to be that way, and you can always cater things to it, but it works out really well that we've got this beautiful mustard seed scripture in this.
Yeah, so this week, and if you've been following along, what we're doing is the first homily, the first 10-minute homily is really on the lectionary text, and then the second 10-minute homily is on some kind of parallel with Fred Rogers' life. And so this week's lectionary text is from Mark chapter 4, and it's the parable of the sower. Sorry, not the sower. It's the parable of the mustard seed.
But it has some sewing.
But it
at the
has some
beginning.
sewing in it. But what I am most fascinated in is the idea of parables being an invitation to imagination.
I like it.
And I think about Fred, and I think about the old Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood episodes that we've watched a gazillion times in our car now. But I think about that, and I think about when he goes to play make-believe. There's something that happens in that make-believe, in the land of make-believe, or the neighborhood of make-believe, with King Friday and Daniel Tiger and Lady Aberlin. They speak in different ways to each other than Fred would ever speak with. Like, King Friday's a little bit brash.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but the neighborhood of make believe is really an opportunity to let Fred's television neighbors' minds wander a little bit, and let them come to their own conclusions. I think the very same thing is happening in the parables.
Yes.
I think that Jesus is telling these stories as a way to ignite people's imaginations, his hearers' imaginations, and to let go of control of, like, I'm not going to tell you what to glean from this, but also, like, to encourage that childlikeness, that imagination-led learning, imaginative-led learning.
Yeah. I think about how, and it just kind of hit me in listening to Fred Rogers again. So we have a DVD player in our car, and sometimes our daughter will sit in the back seat and we'll be in the front seat. We just kind of listen in and listen to what she's watching. And what's amazing to me in almost all of these Fred Rogers shows is there's this line that goes throughout that's connecting everything together. But Fred doesn't really tell you what the line is.
Right.
And it's up to you to see the ways that it fits together. And I just think it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, even going to, like, the ice cream shop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To learn how to make ice cream.
Uh-huh.
And that's in the middle of the imagination and transformation episode.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, but
and that parallels with Jesus in the same way with the parables. Is what I was getting at.
But that episode wouldn't be the same without the little snippet in the neighborhood of make-believe.
Right.
Right? Like, that's the thing that allows us to kind of, the viewers to kind of, like, put the pieces together.
This is so interesting. I have a confession to make that I've always thought that Mr. Rogers was weird. And I think it might have to do with him seeming so much like a Protestant preacher.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating because,
Yeah.
Which I always was taught to avoid as a kid.
Yeah,
How
that
about
makes a lot of sense.
I didn't realize that went both ways.
Yeah.
On the,
Yeah.
like, the Catholics and the Protestants kind of thing.
Oh,
But because I never grew up around any Catholics
Yeah.
in South Carolina. Only Protestant preachers dressed like Mr. Rogers with a shirt and a tie.
Yeah.
Catholic priests dressed differently.
That's really interesting.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and so you get to kind of rediscover it as an adult now.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
I
here's my confession, Lisa. I always thought that Mr. Rogers was weird too, and it was mostly because of his pacing.
Yeah.
And I think the pacing does something similar to the way that silence works in Godly Play, but it does something to allow that imagination to blossom. And so, like, to me as a child, Mr. Rogers was boring and slow, but as an adult, I see that there was an intentionality behind that pacing.
Yeah, and it's different. And I don't think PBS did us any favors growing up because it was always followed, for me, it was always followed by Sesame Street, which is kind of like this fast pace. What's the letter of the day? Let's go, go, go.
It's the complete opposite.
And it's something
Yeah.
different in there.
Yeah.
So, and that was in my childhood. Obviously, Fred was on much longer.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But, yeah. How about that?
Yeah, so this parable of the mustard seed is also really interesting because the idea is things start small. Like this mustard seed starts small. And we were at dinner last night, and we were eating at a German restaurant that had really grainy mustard. And Sophie was like, "Wait, that's a mustard seed? I can see it. It's small, but I can see it," because there's this line in the Godly Place story of the mustard seed where the storyteller holds out their finger and says, "The mustard seed is so small that if it was on the tip of my finger, you wouldn't even be able to see it." And so Sophie had that in her mind and was like, "But I can see it."
Right.
She like put it on the tip of her finger and was looking at it. But what I love about this is there's this thing that happens without anyone being able to control it. Something starts small and grows, and there is no way to predict how it's going to grow. It grows overnight in the first parable in the selection, and then it just kind of grows into this giant shrub where birds make their nests, and there's no way to predict it. And so to me, that's like this whole kind of, for lack of a better term, parable about imagination. That like your imagination starts with something small, something like a puppet, like what's in the neighborhood of make-believe. And then it grows into this whole ecosystem of life that nurtures life and that gives hope.
I love it. I love it. I've got a lot of different things going on in my mind right now. There's this not being able to predict. I think Jesus and Fred both set us up really, really well with not knowing the answer with this.
Yeah.
And that's life. We're not going to be able to predict.
Being satisfied with the mystery.
Yeah, and then there were two Rob Bell things that have kind of been weighing around or rolling around in my mind. One is, well, then you need some way to deal with these new experiences. And one of his mantras is, okay, so that's what this is. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, my imagination's going over here. That's what this is. Like that's what's and it's not saying it has to be something else.
Yeah.
It's that's what this is in this moment. And everything is a new experience. We're not there's no repeat experiences.
Right, because we're never in the same circumstance.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Captain Kangaroo and Mr. Rogers were both soft-spoken and kind of slow talkers, but they were both safe, grown-up men. I like that. That's great. I never watched any Captain Kangaroo.
I didn't either.
I need to go back and
look at that.
So I'm talking about the Mr. Rogers side of this. More, and it doesn't mean that you can't talk about Rogers, but that's more of what the side is. And the other thing that is sticking out to me is we've been talking about dreams and imagination, and I almost want to be able to like pull those two apart to parse those, because there was another thing that stuck out to me that was a Rob Bell phrase, which was just give up dreams. Don't worry about dreams. Dreams don't really help. And I think about that as what he's saying is what's better than a dream is a next step. Like if you have dreams about doing something, what good is it for it just to stay a dream?
Yeah.
But that's not to say that like dreams are bad. I think it's parsing it more, thinking about visions.
Yeah.
To thinking about
But I think he's onto something that dreams can breed exasperation.
Sure.
And frustration when you're coming up against the wall of it not coming to fruition, right? Yeah. Like I think about, I mean, how long ago did we hatch this idea of co-pastoring? Yeah. It was a long time ago. It was early on in our relationship. Yeah. And so we had a good 10 years of being in ministry where all we wanted to do was go past her.
Yeah.
And it caused us some frustration with the places where we were because that wasn't possible.
Yeah.
Like it made it harder to be present in that moment.
Sometimes.
Like that frustration made it harder.
Yeah.
And it could take our attention off of whatever that next step needed to be.
Yes. Yeah. So I get that. There's the the other thing that came to mind is that really dumb Shia LaBeouf sketch whenever he's in front of a green screen. It's like Shia LaBeouf motivational speech, and he's like, "Don't let your dreams be dreams," and he says, "You do it, just do it." That's the name of it. It's just do it.
Okay.
And I think about that. That does help. The next step in that does help. But then, is that the dream, or is that imagining what I can't parse it in my head about it.
It's a lot because the dreams can lead to disappointments, and I think
Sure.
Lisa just like the idea of students being told to apply to a dream school for college. I'm not sure that's always good. Maybe it should be schools that help you take the steps towards your goal, and that makes sense. Yeah,
Better to have a next step.
yeah, and that makes total sense. And I want to push back on this by saying, okay, well, the dreams of freedom of those who were enslaved, like that was key to their survival.
Yeah.
As well.
You're right.
And so I think it's important in this idea of thinking about imagination and dreams that we hold both of those things together.
Yeah. And I'm almost wondering, like, what's the difference between imagination and dreams? If you can imagine, if imagining is that process of thinking about what could be next, what could be, that's equally as important as taking a next step, because you've got to do that. You've got to have both of those.
You got to be able to see it before you can be it.
Exactly. But if the dream just remains a dream, then is that imagination spent?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think it goes back to the mustard seed.
Yeah.
This mustard seed has great potential.
Right.
To be an ecosystem for birds and animals and all kinds of other things. But it is completely useless when you don't plant it.
Right.
When you don't put it in the ground. And putting it in the ground is a step toward hope, right?
Yeah.
So it is an investment in tomorrow, because tomorrow it's going to start to take root.
It's an action of hope.
It's an action of hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Bill Harding said the dream might get you to think of the next step, but usually they don't prepare you for the obstacles in the way. That takes imagination to
There you go.
overcome.
That's a good word. That's a
Yeah.
really good word. And I think about, I was listening to somebody talk about all the different problems that we are dealing with right now, whether it's climate change, whether it's wars in different places, whether it's hunger in certain places, whether it's poverty even in our country, in our towns, whether it's, just go down the long list. And there is no one silver bullet with all of this. There is no one thing that's going to be like, oh, we elect this person and it's all going to be right. That does not happen. But what it takes is a bunch of people with a bunch of imaginative ideas to be able to take something to that next step.
The episode that we were watching the other day of Mr. Rogers, or listening to, I think it was last night. There's this episode where he was talking about imagination. And what he said was, isn't imagination a good thing? Isn't play a good thing? Think about the astronauts who went to the moon. Think about all of the years that they had to play and imagine possibilities to get to the moon. and they had to play with ideas, and they had to play to come up with solutions. And I almost wonder if that clip needs to be in
might be
in
one
the
we
worship
need to
service.
use.
But
Yeah.
I kind of like hit you, and I was like, that's it. But he was talking about like there are big problems and there are big opportunities in our world, and it requires imagination to think about new ways to engage those opportunities, right? And new growth, when you're thinking about the mustard seed.
The big things require big imaginations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, but those big imaginations, like those big things, they all start small somewhere,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like this giant shrub of a mustard plant started small on the tip of your finger.
Yeah.
And so those big dreams, those big solutions, are gonna start small somewhere.
I think about Archbishop Desmond Tutu's interview in a movie or a documentary called I Am, which is fantastic. Tom Shadyac, and he's laughing because he's always that kind of joyful spirit. He's kind of like Michael Curry, you know what I mean, Bishop Michael Curry, and he kind of brings that vibrance to it. And he said, everybody thinks about problems; they're so big, but the question is, what can you do next? The question is, what can you do about hunger? Well, what can you do for this person? What can you do about people being really upset and depressed? Well, what can you do for this person? What can you do? That's one little step. Like you're not going to be able to. We are not going to be able to do everything about hunger, but we can do something for this person.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really, really helpful.
Yeah.
in this.
My boss
Good.
told a story a couple of weeks ago about it's a parable, and I think this is the value of parables.
Okay.
Of a person was walking on the beach, a young kid was walking on the beach, and started noticing a lot of starfish washed up on the beach, and threw one in back in the water, and then walked forward a little bit, and there was another one, threw that one back in. And then as he started walking forward, continuing to walk on, he noticed that there were more and more starfish, that he was never going to be able to throw all of these starfish back into the water. But what did he keep doing? He threw this one back in. Yep. And then this one back in. And that one back in. And it was like one starfish at a time. You're making your way to something bigger. Yeah.
I love it.
The hummingbird and the forest fire. I don't know that.
I don't know that one either.
Man, look at all of these parables that are coming up.
This is good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Man. And that made me think about, there's a Sister Hazel song called Starfish that's really wonderful, and a Chris Ayer song that's called Starfish that both kind of go along the same lines. Anyway, it's good stuff. All the things, all the ideas. There's also this, there are no tangents. So if there are no tangents, then how do I follow all these different things? What's bringing me life? Okay. Well, this is good. So we need to ask
John
Julia.
had a little too much mushroom coffee today.
I did. I had a second round of mushroom coffee. Usually I have one in the morning. And today, you're exactly right. I had it in the afternoon. And it's like, wow. Like I'm still alive.
So you might need
and it has 80% less caffeine than regular coffee.
So it's mushrooms, ground up mushrooms.
With a little bit of coffee.
With a little bit of coffee. And John swears by it. It's changed his life. And he's not evangelical, but he will evangelize this stuff.
It's awesome. Has protein. It helps me think. It's
Rise. Good. Is it Rise? I see that advertised.
It's not Rise. But that one, I did the comparison. The one that I do is Everyday Dose. But yeah, Rise also has really good marks. So yeah. And people say it sounds weird, and I thought it sounded weird too. But it's like a really good instant coffee.
If
and
it's not broken, don't fix it.
But it was broken for me because I don't get the acid reflux that I get from
That's nice.
from this. It's good stuff. So, and I haven't been jittery, like even right now. Like I'm not jittery. I just have a good I'm thinking.
You have a good energy about you.
I have a good energy. But I tell you, if I were to mess up, or if I were to drink a different cup of coffee somewhere else, like that I'm not used to, like for example, Starbucks has more caffeine in it than I think a lot of the others. Or no, it's Counterculture.
Counterculture, yeah.
That coffee, like if I were to go to Atwater's and drink some Counterculture coffee, and I drank 2 by accident, I'd just be like, and
I have to live with him.
But my heart feels like it's pounding out of my chest. I don't get that.
And the squirrels in his head are like banging on the drums. Like, what is going on?
80% less caffeine. Why? Because because my heart. It makes me feel better. Yeah.
All right.
Good stuff. I don't know how we got into all that.
My dad likes my shirt.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Well, we've done some talking. Thank you all for participating tonight. This has been fun. I love it. It's good. It's good whenever we get some good talk back.
Yeah, I gotta go look up the hummingbird in the forest fire.
Let's go look it up.
Yeah.
That's why we have Google. It's a story from the Cuchawa people in Peru. A hummingbird fetches drops of water to help put out the great forest fire, but the other animals laugh at her. But the bird replies, "I'm doing what I can."
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, let's toast.
Well, you got to toast. That's so good.
John's about to cry.
No, I'm not crying. I'm just thinking that's really good stuff.
Yeah. It is good stuff.
How about that?
Well, friends, cheers to you.
Mm-hmm.
And as you go from this place, wherever you are, wherever this place is for you, just remember that sometimes all we need is a story and an opportunity to use our imagination.
Mm-hmm. And may that imagination lead you to some small next step so you can take an action of hope.
Cheers, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
One drop at a time, Pilsen.
There you go. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Friends, this has been good. I don't really want to stop the stream, but I guess we probably should.
We've got a movie to watch.
We do. We do. And yeah. It might show up in the sermon on Sunday.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. Friends, it's been so good. We'll see you next week, and maybe even sooner. Who knows?